This is TJ Zwarych with Agents of Fandom at Calgary Expo, joined by Jeremy Adams. Got a few fun questions for you. First up, out of all the characters you've written, created, drawn, etc., who's the favorite one you've ever worked on?
I should be ready for this. I really like writing Guy Gardner is really fun. I really found an affection for Wally West, but creating only a few. So Gold Beetle is my go-to because she's much more like David Tennant, Doctor Who, which I really love. And Omega Bam Man, the intergalactic space wrestler, is really fun. But Gold Beetle probably because she's so chaotic, and that is a fun thing to write.
Who's the White Whale? Who is the character that you have never worked on that you really want to?
Probably Batman. 100%. That's the crown jewel, I think. Outside of that, I would love to do Ted Kord, Blue Beetle. I think for nostalgia. I'd love to do Captain America as well. I want to do Daredevil, but I don't think I could ever do Daredevil. There's too many good runs of Daredevil. It feels intimidating to me.
Final question, what got you into comics growing up? Who are your favorite heroes? Who are your favorite comic runs?
My dad was a comic artist for a little bit, a few comics, and so I've always had comics in my life. Batman obviously was a huge one. Spider-Man was big. All the main ones. Growing up with like super fans, but it was really like when the Superpowers toy collection came out. That was really big for me. Around the same time that Secret Wars was happening. So as far as favorites, it was always Batman and Captain America were kind of like the main top tier guys that I would go out and play all the time.
This is Tim Sheridan at Calgary Expo. Thank you so much for coming to Calgary. I got 3 questions for you. First up, who is your favorite character that you've written, drawn, created? Secondly, who is your White Whale, the one that you've never worked on before that you would like to? And 3, what is your kind of comic origin story? Who got you into comics?
My favorite that I've ever worked on, I've really enjoyed working with Alan Scott, which is kind of the most recent thing that I've done. So maybe that's why it's present in my mind. But it's also, I found a real personal connection to Alan. So that was really interesting. In terms of characters I created, there's a character from Titans Academy that was kind of a breakout character named Stitch. And Stitch is Dr. Fate's apprentice and is sort of this mercurial character who you can kind of have a lot of fun with, sort of breaks the fourth wall a lot. And I love writing characters like that. So good news, a little scoop for you, is that Stitch will be appearing in this year's DC Pride. And I've been so excited to get to go back and write some lines for Stitch. It's been really fun. In terms of the White Whale, the character that I haven't gotten to do, in terms of DC Comics, I have been begging to get the keys to Tim Drake. So maybe one day I will. But also I think I'd really love to take a crack at Alpha Flight at some point. In terms of what got me into comics, first of all, I kind of came to comics first through cartoons. Like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends was my favorite thing when I was a kid. And then I started reading comics. I have 2 shirts. One says created by Marv Wolfman, one says created by Frank Miller. And those are that's how I feel. My first Batman comic I ever read was Dark Knight Returns, which is a weird way to start your Batman journey. But I actually got to meet Frank at this show and hang out with him, which was amazing. And I've gotten to meet Marv too, which is really cool. Batman. I also, as a kid, was reading Transformers comics from Marvel and DC's Star Trek line, which is a great segue for me to say that I'm taking over Star Trek Lower Decks this year. So pick up those comics from IDW. Oh, and bye.
Who is your favorite character, if you have one, in this wonderful world you've created? 2, what got you into writing, got you into books in general? And 3, if you could write one character that you've never written before in the whole world, who would it be?
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, I'm Dave Cornelius. I wrote the book Shadow Tales, and so I don't know if I have a favorite in it. So this is a book about 3 ADHD squirrels that become special agents to break animals out of a zoo. They battle the evil zookeeper and his army of Canadian geese. So for me, it's like I kind of like all the 3 main characters because they're all based off of my nieces and nephews. So if I ever chose a favorite, I think I would get lynched at a family reunion, which wouldn't be fun. So I just love them all. It's a lot of fun. It's an all ages book. and it's just literally my ADHD brain. I took the top off of it and just said, here world, this is what's in there, enjoy. So what got me into comics? So I wasn't allowed to read comics growing up. My dad thought they were a waste of time. We didn't have a lot of money. And then as I got older and got married and such, my wife was a student. She got her PhD, so we were like almost lifelong students. So we just never had money. And then once she finished, all of a sudden we're like, we got money. So I started reading comics. And but I've always had stories in my brain. And in 2021, I lost my job just before my son was born. So it was like, I became a stay-at-home dad, and I just I needed to get the stories out. And so yeah, I started writing stories. This is kind of the second story I've written, but the first comic I printed. I love horror and cartoons. And as for like, if I was to write a character, I don't know if I would write a character, but I would write a genre. I think it'd be really fun to do like a book about like vegan zombies that instead of walking around going, brains, they would walk around bragging that they're vegan and just being like, I'm a vegan, and or something like that, because I just think it'd be like nuts. So yeah, anyways, hey, yeah, so I'm Dave, so you want to check me out on Instagram, my website, yeah.
Three questions for you. Firstly, who is your favorite character that you've gotten a chance to draw, work on? Number two, who is your number one that you've never gotten a chance to do but would love to work on? And three, what's your comic origin story? What got you into all this in the first place?
All right, first of all, I'm the colorist on Walking Dead Deluxe, which is taking the original Walking Dead, which was black and white, and like splashing color on the entire series. I'm about 2/3 of the way through it right now. So I'll talk about that as far as favorite things, because Rick Grimes is like such a joy to color because he gets so emotional. Every time he meets someone new, he'll just get angry and punch them in the face because he doesn't trust anybody for reasons, good reasons. But it's just really satisfying getting to like work on the emotion of him gearing up. It's fun when you work on emotional characters in art. Even if you're coloring it, you tend to like crunch up like the character so you can express it in whatever you're doing, and that's fun to do. Things I haven't worked on yet. I have been in this industry for about 35 years, and I've worked for DC and Marvel and Image and Dark Horse and pretty much everybody. I guess maybe Archie comics would be fun to do because I haven't done that, and that's pretty much all I haven't done. I've colored pretty much everything else for every other publisher. So I guess, yeah, Archie would be cool. Just as like just to do it, you know? And how did I get into this? My dad was an artist. He was a political cartoonist and a courtroom sketcher, and I thought that was just the coolest job. So I studied to go through advertising illustration, and when I graduated, this was in Winnipeg in the late 90s, when I graduated, there was a company in Winnipeg that was one of the first 3 companies in the world to color comics on computers, and they hired half my graduating class and just chained us to the desks and got us to work. It was 24-hour shifts because the computers were expensive at that time. So like as soon as I was able to afford to leave, I left and started doing it on my own. And I've been doing it ever since, so yeah.
Firstly, who is your favorite character that you've gotten a chance to work on? Number two, who is one that you haven't gotten to write yet that you would love to? And three, how did you get into this in the first place? What's your comic book origin story? What hooked you?
I mean, the first question's hard to answer. It's always hard to pick a favorite. I mean, I want to feel equally invested in everything I'm working on. Last year I got to do a Scrooge book, which I wrote about in the issue, like how important that was to me because I read those Don Rosa Scrooge stories with my son when he was little. And so that one was I guess, had some extra specialness to it. But I genuinely feel like the thing I'm most excited about, most invested in is like whatever I'm working on at the moment. So, right now that's Superman and Turtles and Bug Wars and a bunch of stuff. What was the second question?
Who's your white whale of comics? Who would you really like to write? You haven't.
Gotcha. Yeah, I also don't really walk around with like a list of like, oh, I want to write this character, want to write that character. I mean, Scrooge was a character that I definitely had an interest in writing at some point. I mean, I would say another group of characters that have said multiple times I'd love to write is the Fantastic Four. Like I think I've written each of those characters in different groupings, but I've never really written the Fantastic Four together. So I would love to do that someday. And in terms of how I got into comics, I was mostly a DC kid, so it was books like New Teen Titans, Atari Force, Blue Devil. So all kind of books in the, early mid '80s. And then I discovered like Frank Miller's work, Dark Knight Returns and Batman Year One, and then Crisis and all the stuff that came after Crisis. So that was like my sweet spot of comic bookdom.
Who is your favorite character that you've gotten a chance to draw or create? Who is a character you've never gotten to work on that you would still really like to? And 3, what's your comic origin story? How did you get into this in the first place?
Okay. I would say the one that was the most fun that people would recognize and know is working on Rocket and Groot. That one was really fun, and it's kind of open world. So that one was great to work on. My pie in the sky sort of whale would have to be, I kind of grew up on Aliens and Predator, and even though I don't draw in that way, I love that stuff, and that would be like doing covers and stuff for Aliens would be out of this world. And also Ninja Turtles. And that's kind of segues into the third one. It's like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and all those early Dark Horse stuff, and Mobius from the heavy metal magazines. That was all my jam when it was just kind of all coming into a soup in my brain in high school. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And then, everybody talks you out of it, and then you find your way back to what you were really passionate about. And that's kind of how it kind of went about. So.